In this season finale episode, my guest co-host and I talk about a ghost investigation that took place in a lighthouse that captured more activity than Zak Bagans has ever gotten on one full season of his show. Enjoy. I'm just a girl in front of a mic asking people to watch weird shit with me. Welcome to... Wait, what are you watching? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wait, What Are You Watching? A paranormal comedy podcast where I climb up spiral staircases to chase down guests so I can ask them to watch a strange documentary with me and then come back on the show to talk about it. Joining me today on the season finale episode and the last episode of 2023 is resident co-host, dark fantasy author, Joseph. Joseph, it's like you never leave, and I love it.
Hello, my love. How are you doing this fine day?
I am doing great. Welcome back.
It's wonderful to be here. I will apologize up front. It is now cold in San Diego, of all places. So every now and then the heater, the central heating might come on, and she's a bit loud. So when that comes, we'll try to pause so you can cut it out, because it's so loud that it's stopping me from recording this audiobook next to me.
Has it turned on at all?
She runs it at night. I have a 91-year-old who gets very cold.
Oh, yeah. No, we understand. I think after a certain age, you have to have it consistently at 95 degrees.
Yeah, she thinks she's in Miami, and it's driving me crazy.
It hasn't kicked on, has it?
Not since we've been on.
Well, I think Zoom's pretty good, but we'll see. Who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares? People know Jesus Christ, I record in my car where it sounds like I'm in a tin can. So I bet this sounds like butter. This sounds like velvet right now because I'm at home.
Good morning.
Good morning. Before we get into anything, I just want to let the listeners know that for the new year, I'm tweaking the format a bit of the show. Don't worry, we are still going to talk more paranormal, strange documentaries, but I want to make it a bit less of a guest interview situation and involve more familiar voices and resident co-hosts, because I just want more paranormal. I'm not like that one show, Hot Ones, where the guy is amazing and they're also eating. So I feel like he has an advantage.
I'm still waiting for you to switch it up so that we do the alcoholic version of this show so I can be drunk while we talk.
I've never said you couldn't drink.
Well, yeah, but you got me recording at 7 a.m, and even an old whore like I need an hour or so before we get there.
Well, now that it's going to be less on the fly scheduling and more actual scheduling, we might have to do that.
I'm very excited by that prospect.
So listeners, you have that to look forward to. I was also thinking of getting all the resident co-hosts together, which consists of, at this point, you and Debbie.
Well, that's always going to be a good show.
It's always going to be a good show. And with drinks, we should do a webinar live.
God.
Wouldn't that be so fun?
You're speaking my language now.
Okay. And then we could drink and talk and people can watch. So yeah, I want more engagement from the listener too. So the probe questions aren't going to be for the hosts anymore. Occasionally I might, but it's going to be for you. So please follow me on all socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, because I will be reading your answers on each episode, because if you don't answer, there is no probe. So bend over every week. I would love it. So yeah. Now, this is not to say I won't have guests on occasion, because I'm sorry if Henry Cavill says he wants to be guest on the show. Guess what? He has a multipass.
Indeed. I think he has a multipass with a lot of people.
This is true. Did you see that TikTok where this lady asks her husband, what if Henry Cavill wanted to be with you?
Oh, her British husband, and he's all like, would you leave me for him? He's looked at her like she was insane, of course. He drives an Aston Martin, and it's Henry Cavill.
and it's Henry Cavill, and she's like, understood. Everybody would understand. And I looked at the comments, and the wife was like, yeah, I would pack his bags for him.
Right, I'd kind of have expectations of my husband. I'd be like, no, you got to go, and you got to go get it done right.
Exactly.
Don't come back,
Exactly.
no bitch.
Right? Now take this GoPro and go do your job. The fuck? So yeah, in 2024, I'm trying to find like a slogan for 2024 for this show. More scary but true and less interview. Um, more aliens and boo and less interview. More unbelievable and wacky and less chatty.
There you
What?
go.
Anyways, so that's what's gonna happen. I also have this kind of like ongoing list of absolute long shot list of dream guests for 2024. And somebody I saw recently, who, by the way, remember the whole Henry Cavill deal? He's not Superman anymore.
Hmm.
Did they also kick out Batman as Ben Affleck is not Batman anymore?
I would presume, but the issue is now I'm too dumb to follow because they're going into this multiverse way of looking at storytelling. I'm sorry. And that's great for young people that can pay attention to that. I can't. You told me he's died. Like, there's no going back for me now. You ruined it.
You ruined it. And also because I saw Jason Momoa is doing the interview rounds, and I always love that.
Yes, ma'am.
And he's still Aquaman.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm bitter, but I love Jason Momoa. God, I love Jason.
At least they made one good choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Jason Momoa in an interview, and I don't think we talk about Jason Momoa enough. Henry Cavill overshadows him with us. He's like right up there. He has what the kids like to say, a golden retriever energy.
He does have that. His sunshine just comes out of his eyes, and you remember that scene where Henry was holding him by the neck in slow motion for half an hour. God, that was a good scene. Why can't they have a sequel to that?
That is Joey's Roman Empire. Yeah, it was funny because he was interviewing with so this is going to be our segment of the show for the new year. We're going to do pop culture and then paranormal.
All right. Well, I'm just fluffing you until we get into the paranormal.
Exactly. He was doing an interview with Kelly Clarkson, and you know how they'd have to do a green screen, and he's riding all these, animals, and they showed him without the green screen, and he's basically riding like a piece of wood or whatever, and he's doing the motion, and he starts doing it for Kelly Clarkson. Of course, Kelly Clarkson gets all like flustered. In the comments, somebody said Jason Momoa would flirt with a rock. and then somebody said, actually, no, he's just charming and good looking. Imagine that charm. Would it be attractive if you imagined that charm coming out of like a 300-pound nerd? And I'm like, that is so mean.
Don't read comments. I don't want to know what the whole universe thinks, because most of them are just morons.
I make a mistake though, because it's like TikTok comments are always, for the most part, as far as my algorithm goes, hilarious. I almost should never read Instagram comments, but Facebook comments, I already know. There is no reading Facebook comments. Those people are just fighting for their lives over nothing. Like grumpy fucking old people fighting for their lives. So anyways, so that's that. And now let's go through the process of how we picked this show.
So my girl here sent me a text, said, hey, you want to do this other one? And I had already promised a couple shows ago to do a back end to the prison one that we went with Jack Osborne on. And she said, wait, I have a better idea. I want to do this one instead. So she sent me the link, and the little photo cover on the text said it was about a prison, and I was like, or a jail. And I was like, oh, okay. So she found a better version. That's stop. I'm telling you my story, first of all.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
So I was like, okay, girl, whatever. And so I touched it and I started watching it, and it wasn't about a jail, and it was about nothing. And I was like, why is this interesting to her? Because it was boring as, oh my God, it was awful. And then it was like, I stopped around 15 minutes. I'm like, I'll have to do this. I'll have to come back to this when I'm, not been drinking. So, Luckily, when my eyes opened in the morning, there was a text from her saying, sorry, this is not the right link. I'm like, oh, thank God, that was awful. So then
So, okay.
today, this morning, when I woke up at 2 a.m, I looked again and it still had the same cover. I was like, and I touched it, and all of a sudden it started to be about a lighthouse. I'm like, this is not a prison either. Like, I don't get what's going on here. Now, it was very early in your defense. It was very early for me. So I looked at it and I watched it, and it was fine, but it wasn't interesting. I was like, ooh, she's going to have to lead the talk on this show. And then I went back and with my sober mind read what you said. And it's like, oh, it is supposed to be about a lighthouse. And then I watched The Lighthouse, and what a fucking great episode The Lighthouse was. That's my story.
Okay. So here's my story. So I got you a link from this site that I get most things from, and I won't say what it is. Because I think I don't want them to be shut down. So I got you that link, and they had numbered it. They were off by one. So really, what was supposed to be episode, I think I hear your heater, but it's not that bad.
No, that's a pipe.
Oh, it's a pipe. Okay.
That's someone flushed the toilet somewhere in this building.
Is that your stomach? No. Are you hungry? Do we need breakfast today? So I sent you that link, and it said something lighthouse. But I started watching. I was like, this is a lady in a house with nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. And then I looked at the next, because they did 2 on that particular episode that I first sent. And I'm like, this is not it. So then I just decided to look at the episode below it. And even though it did say something jail, it was actually about the lighthouse. Do you see the confusion?
Yeah, no, it was run by some, underground people who don't know how to number things. And that's fine. However we get to the meat, I'm willing to go.
Yes. And so I was like, oh shit, that's not what I want to watch. Because here's the thing. Ghost Hunters is now at season 14. You wouldn't know that from season 2. It was a mess.
To defend them, they had one camera, one cameraman, and a couple of like 1990s digital cameras that they put on pods every now and then that, is completely grainy and, 450p or whatever. And so I forgive them for trying a format out to begin with.
Yeah. And you have to know that the I think it's the Atlantic Paranormal Society, which is, they're called TAPS. The 2 guys, Jay and Grant, are plumbers. This was like a side gig for them.
Oh, yeah.
Or like just a fun little hobby.
Right. They follow their dreams.
Correct. And it worked out for them. And the show starts getting really good. But one of their first piece de resistance is this lighthouse episode, which I remember watching, but I had not watched it in a long time. But if you look up best shows of Ghost Hunters, this is easily top 5. And you know why.
Nice. It was excellent.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank God you're patient and you managed to watch it.
I got you, girl. Got you.
One of these days we're going to be like, so da 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 da. And you're going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm like, that never happened.
Lies. All lies. At that point, we will just spin it around to I tell a story, you tell a story.
Right. Remember the old days when you started, when you both would come with a story and
with a different story. We might do that.
Those were good days. I remember them.
Should we do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
You like watching together?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
it's hard to kiki and give a dissertation. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Okay, this is the St. Augustine Lighthouse, and it is season 2, episode 19. Allegedly, but not on that one site. Ghost hunters, they go out to the lighthouse and they meet with Paul Winglowski. When it immediately in my head, Mike Wazowski.
I think we should proceed with that, the correct name, Wazowski.
Yes. So Mike Wazowski is the director of education. So here's another thing about the early season of Ghost Hunters. They don't give a fuck about the backstory.
No, they were in it for the thrill ride. They didn't want, the history. They're not historical romance novelists there.
That's Right. They were just like the guy kind of went around and gave like some fun facts. So, for example, the lighthouse is the eighth tallest lighthouse in the United States. And then he like buried the lead. So I had to end up like researching this. So he tells of the story of they were rebuilding this lighthouse in like the 1800s or something. Of course, it's the 1800s.
Of course, it's the 1800s.
Of course, it's just spiritually a giant mess. There was a waiting line to go to heaven. People wandered off. Just this is why we get ghosts from the 1800s. They still don't know where to go. So there was a rail car, and this is what he said. There was a rail car that would ride up and down from the lighthouse to the dock. Well, the brakes on this rail car failed, and the rail car plunged into the ocean, and 2 daughters drowned of 3 daughters. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let me tell you a little deeper story because there was a lot of details forgotten. Well, some. So I looked on the website. So this guy named the superintendent of the lighthouse construction, Hezekiah Pitti. Where are the Hezekiahs?
Now there's a fucking name.
Or our Hezekiahs. What would the nickname for that be?
Zeke.
Zeke. Oh yeah. I'm all Hezzy. Never. I can't do nicknames. So, anyways, so they moved from Cape Elizabeth, Maine, with his family, and he's overseeing the construction of the new lighthouse. Okay, so they lived on site with his wife Mary and their children Mary Adeline, Eliza, Edward, and Carrie. That's 4 kids.
Oh wow.
1 son. Okay. So just as they do the pity children, like to turn the construction site into a playground because there's nothing to fucking do. And they also, play with the other children's worker or the workers' children. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this railway cart actually moved supplies from the supply ships docked at Salt Run to the building site. And riding the cart down to the water was, of course, like their own personal roller coaster.
I mean, they didn't have roller coasters in the 18th century, so this must have been the most fun thing ever.
Ever. So they would do it all the time. And here's the thing. It's only a wooden board at the end of the rail stopped the cart from tipping over into the water.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you can safety. So I think you can guess what happened.
Yeah.
On July 10th, 1873, the 3 Pitti sisters, Mary, who was 15, Eliza, who was 13, and Carrie, who was 4, along with an unknown African-American girl who was 10, whose father worked on the site, were riding in the cart as normal. The wooden board that stopped the cart was not in place. The cart carrying the girls flipped into the water, trapping the girls underneath. Mr. Dan Sessions, a young African-American worker, witnessed the event and raced to the water. And when he reached the cart, using all of his strength, he lifted it from he lifted the rail car from the girls. By this time, 3 of the 4 girls had drowned. The only survivor was the youngest, Carrie. Ugh, terrible. So, and there was more haunted stories than the director of education gave. I was like, again,
I think they're just whitewashing history here for us. But can you imagine Florida in July? My God.
That itself is terrifying. Brad was stationed in Florida, and he said, like, on the dot, 3 p.m., it would rain. Just rain in the heat. As if it wasn't already humid enough. So
it's just, I can't believe humans live there.
I know. And spirits occasionally get trapped there.
Can you imagine being trapped in Florida for all of eternity?
In Florida?
Ugh.
So apparently, like, when you go to the lighthouse, and people have said that, like, playful spirits, that they hear giggling and blah blah blah, and we'll get to that later. But there was an actual tour group, because you can go on a haunted tour. Nice. And you go around with a light stick. I'm like, that would
Nice.
trigger like the raver in me. The ghosts are like, we're not, no, not today. And so the tour, there was a tour group there that played hide and seek with an EMF meter. Not a, yeah. So they were saying, they asked the girls, they were in that lighthouse house, that for the light keeper.
Mm-hmm.
They're in that house and they were asking, do you want to play hide and seek? And the EMF meter shot up.
Nice.
Right. So then they would walk around, and they would find the girl when the EMF meters would shoot up.
What a creative way to to inspire reactions. Love it.
I know. I love it. So back to the show. I thought I just had to fill that in because I was like, this guy gave us like bits.
He gave us nothing.
The story.
He was all interested in his bro code going up in these damn stairs 15 times.
In that fucking bucket. Like, what? Just stop. Okay, so now the listener's like, what are you guys talking about?
Sorry.
So, of course, the lighthouse has a lot of stairs. And one of the big, like, dramas here is that Steve is afraid of heights. Was it Steve? Yes, it's Steve.
Which was delicious.
Because he's like, I told the guys, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I could do this. They're going to have to take somebody else because he's afraid of heights. And it's 219 steps. So he tells us that fun fact, but not the ghost story.
Was it only 219? I thought it was much more.
Yeah, he said 219 steps.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I thought it was in the 500s.
Oh, was it? I mean, it could have, maybe it was just like the first landing. I don't know.
Maybe.
So when you go up, there's like these like museum exhibits, talking about whatever. And then there's that bucket. And apparently people can hear it get picked up and drop. Steve went up. He went all the way up.
He conquered his fears. I was so proud of him.
Good for Steve. He did not go outside, and I don't blame him. Did you see?
I wouldn't have gone outside. That looked like rickety as fuck. It was built in the 18th century, for Christ's sake.
And it was windy and narrow. Yeah. I'm like, no.
Yeah, no. And
so
there was like thunderclouds over it. It was going to get struck by lightning at any moment.
Right. So Steve actually is kind of the smart fellow here. He's like, nah, that's cool. I already made it all the way up. He just like peeks out the door. So apparently the story is that the person who closes will close the door to the railway, and like the upstairs too, right? And lock it with an alarm. And then the next person the next day say the door is open, but the alarm doesn't go off.
Yeah. So my favorite part was that all of their sensors never went off throughout this whole thing. And I don't mean to give away the next part, but there's so much activity in this show that like, I was like, the thing that scared them the most was when they got to the top and the light went on because it saw an actual human being for the first time.
Right. So exactly, because when they started investigating, they put like, light, they put, all their little equipment. It's funny too, because they had a guy that was like a gadget guy. It was almost like Ghost Adventures where they come up with these new gadgets. And that he comes up with this whatever gadget and they never used it again, and they never used the gadget guy again. I don't think I saw the gadget guy again. So you don't have to remember that. But when they start investigating, sometimes they add a little like bit of levity into the show, and Brian is the levity.
So this was, I like the paranormal porn. I'm not poo-pooing any part of it. I'm just putting it to the side here to tell you about the actual human drama that was going on in this show. And that's what really got me. Here was this poor dude, from, Jersey. And, he walks up these million steps. It makes it only better because he's so genuine with his response. He walks, halfway up, 3/4 of the way up, and he comes back down and is it Jason? Who's the bald dude?
Jason. Yeah.
Jason says, did you take it all the way to the top? Because at the very top is where all the activity is. He says, no, I only took it up a few stairs. Says, go back and take it all the way up. And so he goes back, and I'm like, oh Christ, I gotta take it all the way back up.
And he blames Steve. Well, Steve.
Yeah, no, Steve misled me here. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to get me fired here? Anyway, so like he goes all the way back up, exhausted, and he comes back down. And the other dude, Grant's all like, I'm not getting a signal. Did you check the batteries? He's like, oh, for fuck's sake. And he walks all the way back. And I'm really feeling it for him because like there's a lot of stairs on this thing. It's really high. He finally gets it. And on the way back down, he takes a moment to do an interview. He sits down and he goes through it. It's like, I know they're just trying to be my friends and help me out here, but sometimes I feel like they're picking on me. It was just delightful.
So if there is one reason to watch the early seasons of Ghost Hunters, it's because Brian is drama. Like, he is drama. He wants to be on Ghost Adventures so bad. And I think that's what he thought he was signing up for. I thought I was signing up for Ghost.
I thought that's what we was going to do.
I was going to do some drama. I was in theater in high school. And he is coming off like a big disgruntled employee, like right off the bat. Like
he's the lowest man on the totem pole there, and boy, do they make him feel like it. Oh
my God. And he's seriously drama, and he's screwing up the audio connection, and they're just like, I forgot what season it was because he's not in the I think he made it to like the third season, maybe.
Then they're like,
eventually we can't have Brian drama. But it's because I remember watching this and be like, oh my God, this guy. It was less about the ghost and more about like who he had beef with.
Right. That was the subplot was going on all the time. You think you're going for a ghost show, but really you're going for this family drama in the background, and I loved it.
Honestly, if Sci-Fi was smart, they would have kept Brian on. But Sci-Fi, I think, when they signed on Ghost Hunters, it was up to Grant and Jason as who their team was. Like, they had no say, I think. Yeah. And so when they let go of Brian, I bet their heart broke just a little bit. Sci-Fi's heart broke just a little bit. So anyway, so Steve and Brian start in the basement where apparently a shadow has been seen. They do an EVP session and they think they hear a female voice, but really, let's just fast forward to fucking Grant and Steve, because immediately there was immediate activity.
Yeah. Like the moment they turned the lights out and started walking up the stairs, they paused and like, did you hear that? Like there was nothing but activity the whole show. And the most frustrating part is they only have one cameraman. This is season 2 after all. So like, I don't have 15 shots of this going on. I have this dude who has to pan back at the two dudes to see what they're saying and then pan back up, 12 stories to look at the top of the lighthouse where the ghost is like doing a jig.
Yes. So all you see is this like, but thankfully, I mean, they do have cameras set up. But here was my thing. For me, as they're walking up, the fact that you could did you hear the voices murmuring in the back?
Oh, yeah. There were whole conversations going on with some demon sounding thing and then some woman talking about help me and like steps, and like they would look over the side railing down and they would touch their hands and they would move really fast. It was legit. I was like, this is scary as fuck.
Yes. So first, of course, they do their thing was they debunked the bucket story, which was the fucking Mike Wazowski's biggest goddamn story.
He spent half the goddamn show talking about a bucket we never saw again.
Because they debunked it. They said, let's see what could be causing this. Is something dumping this? Well, there's a window right next to it that pops open. And if it got windy and slams, it sounds exactly like the bucket.
Red herring.
Story. Like, and I love that they do that. I think that's why I really liked watching Ghost Hunters in the beginning, rough as it was, is because they straight like do go into just cutting shit out, like possibilities. And what I also love is when shit happens, they get quieter.
Yes. Now there's another thing. And I mentioned this in the last show. I was like, what really makes this work is that they turn the music and the sound effects off at some point. So like when they get into this lighthouse tower, like the only sound effects every now and then are like these minor, like rattlesnake sounds. I don't know if you listened to it with your headphones, girl, but I had to take them off after a while because like, look, I hear a snake and I've got a phobia. So like, I'm like, stop that. But they wanted you to hear the moaning and the sounds in the environment so that you can understand why they were fucking losing their minds on these stairs, running up and down, back and forth like they were in a Sherlock Holmes novel. It was amazing.
Right. Yeah. So like initially they go in there. So Jason sets up like a little camera that looks all the way up the spiral staircase. So, you can see if anybody looks over the railing, which they fucking,
Happens.
oh my God. It like sends chills down my spine because not only do you see something looking, but you see them going from one railing, like pop to another, like
Right.
2 floors up.
You
And
see, they keep seeing their hands hold onto the rails at different points on the way up, and it was a perfect horror film setup, if you ask me. Like someone should make that movie.
Yes. And the way that it moves is inhuman. It is fast.
Yeah.
So there was the one where the person or whatever that was leaning down, and then boom, they're on another railing. Then they see another shot of something blocking, because there's like lights from the windows, the moonlight coming from the windows, and there is a black mass, not a shadow, because you don't see the shadow anywhere else.
Right.
There's a black mass in front of the window that zooms off in inhuman speed, like
Right. We're talking about demons here, people. There was
Yeah.
a demon up in this goddamn lighthouse, and it was trapping these poor little children's souls and shit.
Yeah, and the talking was insane. So not even just like the help me was crazy because that was loud.
Yeah.
And unfortunately it happened right when Steve was saying something. I said, help me. And he was like, wait, they were like, well, did you hear that? And it kind of said it again, but like
Right.
lower. For me, what was scary was the murmuring.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it sounded like there was a conversation the entire time that they were climbing up these stairs. So you hear little girl voices, and then you hear like a deeper voice, and then little girl voice. And I think there was like a little bit of laughter. I don't know for sure, but
I had to take a deep breath, girl.
I know you love that. And then of course this is when Brian, so they freak out. So they're like, let's take a break. And then Brian and who's the other guy? Dustin. So Dustin's the other guy. They go in there and same thing. They also hear a female's voice that said help. They also see movements, but they are not Dustin, but Brian is Ghost Adventures. Did you hear that? He just gets freaking louder.
And he tells the audience about 15 times, I never seen anything like this before. It's amazing.
And he says, this is like the Mona Lisa of Ghost Adventures. He thought he was being profound, Joey.
Like he deep.
Yeah,
the Mona Lisa of Ghost Adventures.
Lisa of all the ghosts. This is like the Mona Lisa. If I never go on another ghost hunt again, I die happy. Little did he know his time was numbered. Tick, tick, tick. So they're the ones that, again, they hear and see movement. And Brian sees the hand going down the railing, which I didn't really see. Did you see it?
No, not in the version I said. Again, this is 1990s video quality.
Guy,
that poor man.
That camera guy is just, listen, I know you have to record the reaction, but keep it on the motherfucking stair.
Well, I'm defending everyone today. He probably has done about, what is this, season 2, episode 19. He's probably done, 30 episodes where nothing happened. And he knows the money shot is the dude's reaction because they're going to have to fill the rest in with sound effects. Not today, bitch. Not today.
That's true. And also they did have other cameras going. So yeah, you're right. But damn it. I was like, oh, you missed it. But it's okay. Because like you said, I think they should go. I don't know if they ever went back to the lighthouse again, but now that we have much better equipment, I think they should go back. There's that one that Ghost Adventures does use that I think might be cool, is that they have this I don't know if you've ever seen it, but they have this light that shows a bunch of dots. So it almost looks like a bunch of dots, like small dots. So if anything walks past it, obviously they're going to block the lights of the
Mm.
dots. I think you should just shine that fucker up there and see what happens.
Light it up, baby.
And record it and record it. It would be much better. Like now you can do it on a goddamn TikTok filter. There, I shit you not. There's a TikTok filter that if you put it on a person and it gives it you all of a sudden you're wearing Christmas lights, like Christmas lights all over you. And there is a video of this girl and she's about to she's starting it. She's starting the filter. Probably she was going to stand in front of it. So it's facing the living room and it has lights all over nothing. And it's doing this.
Right.
And I was like, oh, bye.
Those fucking iPhone cameras are amazing.
I am like, do I want to do now it's got me going around Hearst Castle with my phone.
Oh, I would never. Can you imagine if I found out there was a ghost in this room? No. You can keep that to your goddamn self outside.
Right. I think I showed this other video on TikTok. I reposted it, and this guy was like, I just heard my stove open. I'm all by myself. I know what it sounds like. So he's panning the camera to the stove, and all of a sudden his cupboard flies open and all these cups fall out. And he's cracks me up. Yo, what the fuck? And he is, I think it's Brian.
It might have been Brian.
Was it Brian? Because he's giving Brian energy. And he's like, I can't stay in this house one more second. And I'm just like, he had a nice house too. I'm like, me and that spirit would be living together. And we would find a way.
If you've got a cat, I mean, it's just same thing. So don't worry about it.
Right? They just dump shit all over the place. And it's just like, everyone's like, yeah, in this economy, we'd be spirit roomies. Ain't nobody trying to move out because of a ghost. Okay. Amityville Horror, that entire movie would have never, right. You know what I mean? People would just be working it out.
Yeah. Like, okay, I'm going to go live in this part of the house. You stay over there with your demonic eyes and it's fine.
Exactly. Just don't. Oh, and that was another one of the stories that they said that the lighthouse keeper that basically lived in another spot because he had so many experiences. The lighthouse keeper would wake up to a little girl standing at the foot of his bed.
Right.
And then he would close his eyes, or not close his eyes, but like blink, and then the girl would be gone. Like, I don't actually know what I would do. I mean,
it's my favorite part about this is, we don't make lighthouses anymore because there's no longer we have satellites and shit, and ships know where everything is in the world.
Yeah.
So when are we ever going to have this kind of fantastic adventure? I want them to make, historical horror films about lighthouses, and what a great setting for one.
Isn't it? I mean, I did one story of the lighthouse keeper that disappeared, and it was somewhere in Ireland. So I had a blast with that show. That they came back and they used to trade off, right? They would like have a guy there for like a certain amount of time, and then they would trade off, and another guy would come with the supplies, and they would trade off, and they came back, and this guy like disappeared, and there was like no trace of him. And I think they made a movie that like he went like.
Oh, is that movie with Willem Dafoe and that Twilight kid?
Yeah, it was based off of that. And they kind of started going after each other, but that's more like a psychological.
Yeah, that was a tough call.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a tough movie to watch while you wanted to be happy. You know what I mean?
Right. It was more psychological, and then they were trying to say it was paranormal, but I think being alone and being scared, like if he did hear something and there was nobody to talk to,
that was mental illness.
Yeah, that was extreme, like mental illness, and they were like. I mean, he could have easily jumped into the water and disappeared.
It's right there.
Yeah, it's right there. It's a little too convenient. But lighthouses are scary. Like, they always have people. Oh, that was another story. Was that people would see after the after hours, they would see like a lady in white up by the railing or a little girl up by the railing.
Mm.
I don't know if I lived in that town, if I could even look at that at night. Because, like, if I saw something, I'm such a scaredy cat considering what I like to talk about.
Well, that's why it interests you, because it scares you.
Yeah, that's true. What is that? Tell me, what is the psychological? What is that?
You're
Why do I like
fascinated.
to ride like roller coasters and jump off planes when I'm scared of heights?
Um, well, roller coasters is because you know you're safe, but it's going to feel like you're in danger the whole time. So there's that little dopamine hit when you do that. But the reason I watch The Exorcist or read that book is because it fascinates me that a grown man is afraid of something that's not real. That blows a psychologist.
Yeah. Yeah.
That blows my mind. I will never not be fascinated by that
Yeah.
strange occurrence.
So you're saying you don't think The Exorcist was real?
No, no. I logically do not believe in a Satan or the possession of humans for nefarious reasons that make no sense. I'm sorry, that's not a real thing to me.
Yeah.
With that said, it absolutely terrifies me.
Because what if it was
The sound,
real?
yeah, like being taken over by a demon, losing control of my mind and my faculties, being, taken prisoner in my own body is a horrifying idea. Like that just gets me on every level. But for God's sake, grow up. It's not real. Can't do it.
I'm telling you, a lot of these situations with ghosts back in the day and how it blew up, like, the spiritualism fad that happened in the late 1800s,
Mm-hmm.
is because people were fucking bored. People were fucking bored. There was nothing to do. All you did was work and eat and work. And
Right.
like they figured out that like the peasants, when they did love something, they fucking went all in.
It was like the advent of science in the world. And so like they started to go at it almost as if they're using the scientific method to prove something. And that just made it like the dumb people are like, oh my God, it must be real because the smart person said so.
Mm-hmm. But they can read, so that it has to be real. And then like, because I mean, I get like human nature, you're fascinated and you have, by things that you shouldn't be fascinated with, like, true crime and all that stuff is fascinating. But like the fact that hangings were a picnic family event to me screams there was nothing else to fucking do.
The last time they used the guillotine in France was in 1977, right?
See,
like it was the thing to do up until just after we were born.
And do people like that? Just blows my mind because first of all, like, I don't care what era it is. A person dying is a person dying. Maybe they got like desensitized to it because they saw death everywhere.
Well, they lived in a society where they had to act right or they were going to burn in hell. And so like they liked the confirmation, the encouragement that yes, no, if you're a bad person, you're going to get your light it up, bitch.
Right. And it's kind of like that whole, at least it's like watching Jerry Springer. Like, I'm not that person. I thought I was bad. But I'm not getting my head cut off today.
Right. I'm feeling pretty good about myself today.
It's all coming together now. It's just less drastic today. But back then it was just like, I'm like, there's nothing to fucking do. I'm like, me and Brad were talking about, small towns, and, he grew up in a small town. And I'm always like, it's so dangerous in a small town. That's why people gossip about everybody else. That's why people like create stories and like have family legends. Like if you were born under a certain fucking last name, that's your reputation, no matter what you did. If grandpa fucking such said, like did something bad, you
become cursed.
You become cursed. I'm like, this is the problem with these little, like, you need to get out. I can, like, it's just problematic for me. Sorry, small towners. I mean, small. There's
Well, small towners now is okay because we have the internet and, communication methods that bring us together. I know you're giving me the smirk, but like, even if you're a boomer on Facebook, making up shit with Donald, at least you're, not in a town of 500 people, like talking shit about each other and you don't understand anything about the outside world. At least they understand some elements of it now.
This is true. I'm just going based off my experience, not everybody's experience. I know some people love a small town. I mean, there's certain parts about it I like. I like that it's not busy. I like that you can, everybody knows your name. Sometimes that can work out. Like, this is why I still bank with the Missouri bank, because I can call and talk to Ann and get shit handled.
That
and
is
Ann
ridiculous.
knows me. Ann knows me. No, it's not ridiculous. Joey, I signed up for Citibank and there was a problem with my deposit. And I spent like a half hour talking about the same situation to 3 other operators because they're like, oh, let me transfer you to this person. And then I had to go into my spiel again of why I was calling. I'll send an email to Ann. Ann, what the hell's going on here? Blah, blah, blah. She's like, I got you, girl. High five. Done. That is what I like about a small
Okay, valid. Like, if they're willing to reverse the ATM fees, I got it. I agree.
Yeah. It's so much easier. Man, but Citibank, I'm calling out Citibank. I'm not sponsored by them, obviously.
It doesn't really matter which big bank you're talking about. They're all the same.
Man. They're all the same. So, but as far as like, just like you said, legends building up, especially back in the day, like you said, no internet, like things can like seriously build up. And I think like half of these things, like the possessions, the ghost stories and all I think it's just the same story over and over again. And you look at something and expect it and you see something.
Yeah, if you're in a small town, especially if you're in New England and some poor bastard has, schizophrenia, you're like, oh my God, the devil is here. And then you just start a whole new story and it becomes all the shit you ever feared in your life comes together. And next thing you know, there's a bonfire lit.
Yeah. I just did an episode about like a werewolf with one of my coworkers, Anthony, the Beast of Gévaudan. In France. I know. Sexy. I love it. I know. It's a best werewolf name. And I think initially a girl got attacked, but I think a rabid wolf. But it became they had a wolf hunter. The fucking king was sending out a werewolf hunter to find this wolf. And then I think some people started taking advantage of it. They believe one person took advantage of it and used it to like become like one of the first serial killers, and that he just dressed up in like werewolf pelt and because there was no streaming services.
Right.
People, when there's White Lotus on, you're not gonna be dressing up in some hairy costume. You're gonna sit the fuck down and watch Jennifer Coolidge.
Exactly. The devil is in my realm.
Okay, so let's they went to the analysis, obviously, and they showed Mike Wazowski what they caught. And Mike Wazowski was the first person to say he was not a believer. But when he saw all that shit,
that changed real quick.
That changed really quick. What do you think?
Something is there. I mean, like, they've got it on tape half a dozen times. Yeah. There's, I could explain the sound effects of whispers and everything because we had the ability to do that, but they couldn't create the visuals in 1992 with a goddamn Betamax camera. I'm sorry, that shit happened as it's on the screen.
Oh yeah. And I think what I like about Jay and Grant is because they're so even keeled. So one of the episodes, they went to the Shining house, right? The hotel, not the house, but the hotel.
Yes.
And Jason, like the balls on this man. So he was sleeping in one of the hotel rooms and he had the camera set up. It's like well into the season. So he's got cameras set up everywhere. They show him waking up because you hear this crack and you hear a door opening.
Mm.
So he wakes up and he looks, and the glass on his table is now cracked, like broken. And then he looks over and the closet is open. And so instead of anybody else who'd be like, holy fuck, like what's going, he's like, he gets super calm. He's like, so I don't know if you guys see this, but
Something's gone on over here.
he literally becomes Barry White. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a broken glass on the side. And he goes, no, the closet opens there. So he took the camera and he set it basically next to him, facing the closet. And he's like, I'm going back to sleep.
No.
So right there, I'm like, oh my God.
I've never been that tired.
Never, ever, never been that drunk. I think I would sober up so quick. So he puts the glass down and there's like a little chip off of it, and he puts it in there and he goes, okay, that's for the staff tomorrow. I'll show him what that is. And he goes back to sleep and he puts the camera on the closet. As soon as he puts his head on the pillow, this door now closes and latches.
Nope.
And he goes, did you guys see that? And he goes back to sleep. It's crazy how calm he is. So that kind of like sometimes debunks the theory of like, if you're scared, you'll see something, because I feel like Jason is not scared,
right?
Like at all. So he's just, I don't know, either that or the ghosts feel like, he's a safe space. Like we can totally show up for this guy and nothing will happen. I just looked up over to the left to make sure I was recording, and we're almost done. Can you imagine? You would have killed me.
No, I know now. No, I've learned this with Debbie. Like I need the Zoom thing to say at the beginning, now recording.
Okay. Because I was like, wait, did I? Because I pressed it before you came on. So I wouldn't have to think about it. But that scares the bejesus out of me now. Because anyways.
We only did that one time.
I know, but I'm like, Okay. So what was your favorite creepy part of this show?
The shadow, the demon that's moving at breakneck speeds left and right, up and down the thing.
So you say it's a demon?
Yeah, that's a demon.
That's a demon.
Because it's not a human. I'm not buying this whole human thing can fly through the air at breakneck speeds. Like the little girl, that might have been a human spirit. That might have been the kids trapped in the ocean underneath the rail cart.
Residual.
Yeah, that might be whatever. But there's something haunting that place, and I believe it's a demon.
Yeah. If listeners, if you don't watch any Ghost Hunter episode and you just want to watch like one, this is the one to watch.
It was excellent.
It is activity. They caught more shit than Zak Bagans caught in like forever.
It's 2 whole seasons of the other show.
Yeah, 2 whole seasons in, and they catch the Mona Lisa, as Brian would say. This is the Mona Lisa of ghost investigation. If I never do a ghost hunt again, I'll die happy. Okay. I kind of like him now. I used to be annoyed by him, but I don't know. I don't even have to ask this. Who do you like best from the ghost crew?
Look, Brian and his sides and his struggle to find footing in this small organization of gentlemen who all think he's stupid. I mean, he stole my heart. Yeah.
I think there should be a side. There should be a side reality show of Brian trying to find the ghost crew that he can work with. That should be a reality show in of itself.
I mean, if you ever start your own Ghost Adventures show and you don't call that motherfucker to join us, I will never forgive you.
I don't think I could take him for.
Oh my God. You must.
So yes, I think you've watched a Ghost Hunters before, right?
Probably, but much later season, like a 13 season or something like that. Back when it's slick that it's like, this is clearly, a dude in his Mac going to town in 1998.
Right, which actually is a little bit endearing in a way, since we have such slick productions now.
Yeah.
That, like you said, it feels more believable because they're literally doing it on like a handheld video, like a video camera.
Like the opening credits scene, like where they're introducing the characters with the music is so awful. It's just so not correct. For like, I was watching this, I was like, what are we watching?
And you see, they made him like turn.
Right. Like it looks like a comedy special.
Like it looks like an SNL skit's about to start.
Exactly.
But would you recommend this show? What?
I would recommend this episode to everyone. Right. It was excellent. Yes. I would not recommend that stupid one about the jail. That was terrible. The dumb woman that just, was living in this 4 square foot room and the door kept opening. I'm like, sweetie, lock it. Honestly, why are we here?
It's an old ass house and low ass ceilings. Right. And her husband doesn't seem to be home a lot. So
I smelled mold.
Yeah. That was crazy. I was like, I can't believe they included that. But then did you see like that episode was like 38 minutes. They were really stretching it. They were like, we caught not a damn thing. There must have been so many commercials in that particular episode. They would go like 10 minutes commercial. So yes, I recommend this episode, but I don't recommend Ghost Hunters until after like maybe the 7th season. But there's still some. If you look up like top episodes, there's a few golden nuggets in the early seasons. There is drama though within Jason and Grant. That in itself. Oh yeah. So Grant left in 2012 saying that he wants to spend more time with his family, yada yada yada. And so Jason, Brad, don't get too close because you're in your shorts. Okay. Are you in your shorts? I didn't know if he was in his undies. I'm like, people can see you.
I was wondering why that naked man kept popping up in your back Zoom filter.
He only has his shorts on, but I thought he was in his unders. Joey was like, he was wondering what that naked man was doing, popping up in my background.
Sorry.
What was I saying? I forgot.
Speaking of Henry Cavill.
What were we talking about? Anyways.
So no, they had a falling out. You said Jason and Grant.
Yes, they had a falling out. So Grant left in 2012, and then Sci-Fi gave up Ghost Hunter. So they thought it was going to be done, but then it was picked up by Animal Planet randomly, I think.
Oh, and they had more money.
But they offered it to Jason, and they told Jason, "We want a whole new crew. We just want you." Jason was like, "No, I want my crew." And so they're like, well, fine. So Jason started Ghost Nation, and they asked Grant to come back, and Grant came back with a whole new crew. Okay. Wow. Then Discovery.
Boys are difficult.
Right. Then Discovery Plus bought it, and Grant's Ghost Hunters didn't do very well because Grant was never there. It was just a new crew. We would just like occasionally show up. So Discovery Plus bought it and then asked Jason to come back on with the original crew. So now it's back to being good.
Wow.
I don't know if Jason and Grant have beef. They never said that they did. I just, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you would have beef if somebody came back and took, I don't know.
I mean, they clearly love each other, but sometimes siblings put themselves through things that, distance them for a while, but the love always brings them back.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever talked bad about each other. So I think it's still good. But I definitely recommend the show again. What part of the show could a viewer get up and go use the bathroom and get a snack without missing anything?
The tour at the beginning.
When Mike Wazowski comes on, go take a piss.
When you see a local, you don't need that.
All right. Anyways, let's wrap it up. Joseph, thank you so much for joining me on the show once again.
Thank you for having me, my love.
Of course, listeners, you're going to hear a lot more from Joseph and Debbie and a few of our resident co-hosts in the next coming season. And of course, I'm going to continue my quest of watching strange and weird documentaries. And I hope you will join me in the new year. Subscribe, rate, and review. You know what to do. I hope you all have a great Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, winter solstice, graham crackers, and pudding. And Happy New Year. See you all in 2024. Goodbye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Wait, What Are You Watching? This podcast was produced, edited, researched, and hosted by me, Elaine Cheney. I would really appreciate it if you could help me continue to create and grow by subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. See you next week.